Hey, my name's Julia, and I live with my mother, who's currently recovering from depression and alcohol addiction. She's been through quite a lot since Dad left us. Although I have a stressful life at home, I have a much more peaceful life when I'm at Liz's place. Liz, my fiancé, and his mother adore me and make sure to show me the love that I never got from either of my parents. Dad left right before I was born, and that is what Mom says, so I only grew up with my mother. She has not been the easiest person to live with, and I had to suffer from her angry towards my father. Since Mom was just a teen when she had me and her parents had disowned her, we had to live with some pretty harsh conditions. I started school just like any other child in the neighborhood. I felt more peaceful at school than at home, as my mother had abused me emotionally. She kept saying that it was my fault that Dad left her because he was not ready to have a child. Mom tried to get his night jobs here and there to sustain us, and I must say that she's the strongest person I've ever come across. As much as she is a pain in the gut, she's still my inspiration. I wish to be not only the strongest mother, but also the best mother. She's most definitely getting the trophy of the world's strongest mother, but she can never have the trophy of the world's best or greatest mom. Started drinking, claiming that alcohol prevented her from going insane. She would always say that alcohol and her are loyal friends, and they would never leave a person. I was forced to grow up as fast as I could and had to take care of her as she was always drunk and could not function like a normal person. When I was in the 6th grade, she demanded that I drop out of school to help her at home, and I was passionate about school, and I argued with her about it as I refused to drop out. She threatened to give me away if I kept making her life hard, but I was no longer affected by her words. As she would say random hurtful things to me, I focused on creating a bright future for myself while still taking care of her. I told my life skills teacher about how the situation at home was affecting my studies, and Mom received a warning from the child welfare agency that I would be taken away if she continued to neglect me. Well, she was furious, and as much as it was serious, it was also funny, because my mother always threatened to give me away, but I guess it was just a bark. And then I went to high school, and I decided to apply to a boarding school, as I would study better if I was away from home. My mother was not happy with that, and she tried to stop me by threatening to disown me. I never wanted to end up like her, and so I stood my ground and left home. And that's where I met Liz. We hung out all the time, and he was always there when I wanted to vent about how difficult my life had been because of my mother. And then Liz asked me to go to the prom. I accepted, and we became high school sweethearts. I swear I was happier when I was at school than I was at home. I took out a student loan and enrolled in college to study records and archives, and by the time that I left for college, my mother was deep into drugs, and she chose them over everything else, and she had been to jail a couple of times as well, and it was not an easy thing for me as a student. I finally completed college, and somehow my mother, she was excited for me. For my graduation, and she even planned a graduation party for me. I was concerned, though, as I wondered where she took the money from, and when I asked her, she said that a man would do anything to ensure that her child is happy, so I let it go and decided to focus on applying for a job before I officially graduated. On my graduation day, I woke up and got ready as it was the happiest day of my life, with my mother right there by my side. I was happy that she came along and just simply finally realized that education was everything. She asked me to make my way to college, and, she did not want to delay me. She planned on coming later after me, and I waited and she never came. I was so disappointed, and I could not even understand how and why I believed that she had changed, as I knew that she was still the same person. After the ceremony, I received a phone call, and on the other side of the line was my mother in prison after she got into a fight. I was honestly more disappointed than angry. She was obviously fighting over some bag of marijuana or some crap like that. Who even does drugs in the morning? She asked me to go down to the station and pay the amount requested for her release, and I decided it's better if she just stayed there for at least a day. I used it as a way of escaping from her, and I took my mind off of it and only thought of having a great day. As it was indeed a joyful day, and later that day she was actually released from jail. I had no idea how. I guess she had communications, and as much as I'm happy that she was actually out, I was mad that she was ruining my life. Well, we had quite an argument that night, and she was furious with me, as apparently I had neglected her and wanted her to stay in prison. Fast forward, I now have a job. I must say that I'm doing well myself, and I sometimes just leave home and spend time at Liz's house, as my mother is intolerant. We argue all the time, and guess what we always argue about? My mother wants me to pay her for raising me. Can you believe that? She says that she went through so much and that it was all my fault, and to make it up to her, it's to give her an incentive as recognition. At this point, I think I've heard it all. I did not ask to be born into this world, and I truly think I'm the last person to blame for what my mother's gone through. I should be the one asking her for payments to me for making my childhood a mess and forcing me to be an adult at such a young age. She's failing to take accountability. Now that I'm working, I'm planning on taking her to a rehab center, even though I know she will not be happy about it. Update number 1. It's been a year since my last update, so I just managed to take my mother in for rehab. She went ahead to stay there for 6 months because she was really a mess and she needed as much help as she could to get over her use of drugs. She's still offended to this day, as she says that I'm trying to change her and that I keep judging her, and it's been 2 months since she came back home, and she's been demanding that I give her money. It's not that I have a problem giving her money, but she wants me to give her money because she raised me, and I cannot do that. Come on. I do not want to do that at all. I don't want to spoil my mom at all, but not because she raised me, but just because she's my mother. So, to make it up to her for placing her in a rehab center, even though it was for her own good, I decided to take her out so that we could buy a house. We've been staying in quite a small apartment as I'm trying to save up to buy a house for us. We went to view a few places, and my mother embarrassed me. As we kept viewing, she asked me what we were looking for, and I answered that we were trying to find an ideal home for us. Are we looking for an ideal home or an ideal cave? All the houses that we've been looking at are far too small, and I can hardly do anything apart from sleep. My mother said to me, and I quickly processed what she said, and my mood changed immediately. The real estate agent looked at me and laughed his lungs out until he saw that I was deeply offended by what my mother said. I was annoyed, and so I dropped her off at the apartment and continued with my search. The agent said I was rude, and he dropped me right then and there, and I had to find another agent to help us out. In a few days, I was able to find another agent who found me the best 4-room house, and I was excited to move into the new house. A thought flashed through my mind about whether or not I should let my mother move in with me, but I snapped out of it as I'm the only person who can take care of her stubborn self. I then hired a truck to move our things to our new home, and now my mother has started calling me cheap. I honestly don't know how I got her as a mother, because all she does is drag me down, and she literally has no idea how hard it's been to take care of her, and all she has to say to me is that I'm cheap. She even threatens to take me to court if I do not give her what she, quote, deserves. I'm trying to understand what she meant by that because it was her choice to have me. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for all that she's done. Even though she could have done better and made better choices, she's tried to make me drop out of school. How was she going to make me pay if it wasn't for my determination? My mother really thinks that she can boss me around just because she gave birth to me. But things just don't work like that. I wonder what she would even say if she were to take me to court. What would be the case about even? Mother is clearly out of her mind, and if she thinks that I'm going to let her treat me like a child, just like that, then she's very mistaken. Well, I have to go now, but I'll update you soon on how crazy my mother becomes, or if she finally comes to her senses. She's unpredictable. Update number 2. It's been 7 months since my last update. I know, I can't believe it either. I woke up to work as usual, and the day passed very fast. I have been having a bad feeling all day at work, and I could not really understand why. I started feeling a little lightheaded and a bit under the weather. so I decided to take a bus home an hour before my actual depart time. That was because my boss saw that I was not doing well and he suggested I go home. To my shock, I found a truck leaving our premises, and I wondered what the truck brought or took, and I saw Mom from a distance, and she appeared as if she was going back inside the house. I walked into the house and something looked different. I always knew that something was different about the house every time I came from work, but I did not think that it could be because of what my mother kept doing. "Mom, why was there a truck here?" I asked her as if I tried to find the couch in my eyes. "Well, since you refused to give me my money, I've decided that I'll get it back the hard way. I'm not going to live in an empty life because of you and your father. Have you any idea how much I had to endure just because of you? You crashed my dreams, kid." My mother responded to my question as she took out a check. I was confused and furious as it was clear that my mother was selling the furniture at home when I went to work. How stupid can she be? I'm working my butt off to make my life easier for us, and she's making mine harder. Listen here, Mom. I did not choose to be here either, and stop blaming me for all the hardships in your life, and take accountability. You made your life choices that led to such a life. All you do is try to justify your stupid ways by blaming everything on me. I honestly don't know how I was made your daughter because clearly you never wanted me. I blew off a little steam onto Mom and I hit the buttons on her. I was aggravated, and so I decided to leave home to go to Liz's house for dinner, and Liz was concerned and asked me what was wrong. I vented to him, and truly am thankful for the kind of man that he is because he always listens and does not judge me. After all the venting, we had dinner, and Liz insisted that I spend the night as I was still going into an argument with my mother. So, the following morning, I went home to get to work, and I entered the house and found my mother laying on the floor alongside a bag of sleeping pills. I called an ambulance and took her to the hospital ASAP, and I had to miss a day of work because I had to take care of my careless mother. She needed a detox. She was unconscious for about 48 hours, and I took her home and gave her a lecture. "Really, Jolene? At your age, do you still act like a child? You make it so exhausting to just take care of you. When will you grow up and become a responsible person like everyone else your age? You need to take life seriously. That is the very reason why you ended up dropping out of school and having a terrifying history. The very reason why you diverted to drugs and thought that drugs were a way out. You need to start using your head to think. I swear if you were not my mother, I would have chased you out of my house right after I learned that you have been selling my furniture. I work hard for the life that I have, and I will soon make a decision to cut off everybody who threatens my future. Even my mother." I walked away and did not give her time to respond. She looked at me like a puppy as I walked out of that room. Instead of raising me, it's been the complete opposite, and I'm so tired of it. She needs to grow up and get her crap together. Updates. Number 3. Hey guys. It's been 3 weeks since my last update, and I'm happy and sad at the same time. Let us start with the bad news first, shall we? So, when I bought my house, I put it into my mother's name as I thought it would calm her down. I know that I'm naive and hope that my mother will stop asking me for payment, but all I really long for is a parent's love that I never got as a child. I'm still my mother's child, and I want her to truly love me, but all she does is hurt me. So what happened is that my mother took me to a small claims court, and she went to sue me, apparently because I owed her money that I refused to pay back, and what a snake I got for a mother. I honestly cannot be with this woman. She's also accused me of squatting in her house. She clearly forgot that I'm the one who pays the bills and all expenses. It's still my house, even though it's under her name. I went to attend the court hearing about how, my mother has labeled me as a criminal. She's trying so hard to get money out of me, and is this really happening in every household, or is it just with my mother? I don't think my mother cares about anyone apart from herself. Do you want to hear the funny thing? My mother did not have the property papers or any proof that I owed her money, so it backfired on her. I know that it was a failed attempt, but what she did was not okay. This means that my mother is willing to trade me for money, and how did she become my mom? The court dismissed the case and scolded her for wasting their time, and I left without even looking at her, as I was very disappointed to have her as a mom. I was truly disgusted by her behavior, and I could not stand being under the same roof as her. And so I went to my peaceful place, which is Liz's place, and for the first time, I did not even have the energy to talk about what I was going through. Let us leave the sad news alone, because it only makes me cry and beat myself up for thinking that my mother and I could ever have a normal relationship. Well, the good news. I'm getting married. I'm overjoyed, as this could be a way of escaping my mother's torturous behavior, and after Mom tried to squeeze money out of me by taking me to court, Liz thought that it would be a good idea that we get a weekend away to help me forget about it all. I agreed, as I thought it was a good idea, and that was when he proposed. I forgot everything, and I could only see a healthy future with the love of my life. I must say that I did enjoy the weekend, as I truly needed it. Update number 4. It's been 6 months since my last update, guys. I really don't know what this woman you call my mother wants from me. I'm in pain right now, and it's all because of Jolene. This woman is shameless and has no emotions at all. See, she sabotaged my engagement, and now my wedding is off. Ever since the court incident with my mom, I've decided to crush at Liz's place for some time, as I could not handle being around her. She kept calling me, but I was too annoyed to even respond, and she knew that the only place I would be was Liz's. I had literally moved in with my in-laws, as I moved with a suitcase, which was all I needed, so I don't go home for anything since I've been there for a month, and the expenses were not paid, and there was probably no food in the house. My mother came looking for me. I did not see her, though, as I was at work and it was only Liz's mother at home. I was so shocked to hear what she had to say to me when I came back from work. I found her lounging in the lounge, and she stopped me as I entered the house. You don't deserve to be in this house. I cannot allow you to be here. When you've neglected your mother, and now letting her deal with your mess, you need to take responsibility for your actions. Well, I was so confused, even though I tried to make sense of everything. What do you mean? I'm lost right now. And then Liz walked in. That was when he explained to me that my mother had come looking for me to apparently go and pay back the overdue loan that I've taken out before, and she told them that it was a huge debt and that if I got married to Liz, I would be dragging him to hell with me. She had no idea that Wilhelmina is the best and most protective mother I know. She was not going to allow anybody unhealthy to destroy her son's life. She explained everything that my mother said to her. Liz tried to reason with her that my mother is a conniving woman and she would do anything to ruin my life if I did not give her money. One thing about Liz is that she always follows what his mother says, because he's, been raised into the man that he is by her, and every decision that she made led him to being the better man that he is. So he decided to call off the wedding and broke up with me. I was shattered as I watched my dream go down the drain, all because my mother is selfish. I left as requested by Liz and his mom, and now I'm drowning in my own sorrow. My mother has really stooped so low. As a mom, this is not something that you should do to your kid. Update number 5. Hey guys, this is the final update, but this is the most important decision in my life. I finally stood up against my mom and chased her out of my house. After sabotaging my life like that, I knew that I was never going to be able to grow with her around me. After I went back home before I left for work, I gave my mother a few hours to pack her things and leave my house, as I could no longer take her stupid behavior. Clearly, my mother will never grow up, and she will only keep doing anything and everything that she wants just because she wants me to pay her for raising me. What kind of mother does that to her children? And when I come home from work, I tell her to leave. She then began threatening to take her own life if I chased her. Any words she attempted to say to me did not move me. Where do you expect me to go? I'm your mother. I gave birth to you. So, in other words, I'm entitled to you and every single thing that you own. You cannot just decide to get rid of me like a bag of garbage. She said this to me as we fought over a suitcase. If you were my mother, you would have been my backbone. You would have been my anchor. You would have been my stronghold, my rock, and really my mom. You don't give a crap about anyone but yourself. What kind of mother sells her daughter's furniture while she's out working for some comfort for you? What kind of mother accuses her daughter in court that she's squatting under her roof when I'm the one who pays the same roof you speak of? Tell me, do you really think you deserve to be called my mom? I'm asking for money from you because you're the reason my parents kicked me out. I chose you over shelter and a soft life. I lived the life of a criminal because of you. You're to blame for everything, my dear. Whether you like it or not, you're at fault. Mom continued to exchange words with me as I dragged her out of my house, and so I fired back. You keep asking to pay for you raising me, but in reality, I've raised myself. You were never there for me. You chose drugs over you and me, and you even wanted me to quit school, and you tell yourself that I'm at fault? For once, Mom, have a little shame and dignity. I could no longer continue arguing with her. I locked my door after I threw her out, and she kept banging at my door, but I did not open it for her until she was gone. I don't know if she'll be back or not, but I don't want to risk my life further. So I'm planning to sell the house, and before leaving the place, I'll try to contact Liz once and see if things can get better. My question for you guys is, am I the a-hole for chasing my own mother out of my house? What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Poor Julia. I'll tell you guys, Jolene was a wild, crazy, toxic woman. A lot of the commenters, though, they were saying, you know what, I don't really blame Jolene, not as much as I blame OP. Yeah, you guys might think, well, that's crazy. How could you blame OP in this situation? She seemed pretty innocent. Well, she was. But most of the commenters were saying, hey, why in the world would it ever take OP this long to finally cut ties with her mom? Yeah, we get it. It's her mom. She's biologically there. It doesn't matter. When somebody treats you like this, accuses you of theft, accuses you of taking out a loan in someone else's name, I mean, this story went deep. I do want to hear from you guys, though. What would you have done? Would you do what the commenters are saying and cut off your mother way faster than the OP did in this story? Or would you say that's hard to tell unless you were actually in that situation? Let me know your thoughts downstairs in our comment section, guys. My name's Mr. Reddito. I have a very special story coming up soon. It's going to be a multi-video story, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear about it. I am going to go ahead and say it's probably one of the craziest stories I have ever read. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.